Hello there, everyone. This is Mr. D coming to you with Exodus of the Holy Chronicles. This is chapter 14. We know that Moses has been crossing over the desert now since he left Egypt. We learned that on the last chapter. Everything is looking good. But what else could happen in their progress across the desert? The Bible will tell us that. So why don't we have a prayer first, which, and Jesus, thank you for everything you do for us, for me, and for people who are coming to you. Help them to get through the struggles of what they have, and help them to maybe find you in some of these videos. We ask this in your name, Jesus. Amen. Now, this is again chapter 14 of Exodus. Yeah, Exodus. And what has happened at this time is, I said, the Israelites have left Egypt. And as we had concluded on the last chapter, which was 13, the very end of it, let's see, it says here, so God led the people around by the desert road towards the Red Sea. The Israelites went up out of Egypt ready for battle. And it makes it more so. That's when the Pharaoh had said, let my people go, and God did not lead them on the road to the Philistine country, though it was shorter. God knew something was going to happen, so he didn't take them the quickest route, probably the most easiest route. It took them around another route, which opens the door to chapter 14. So here we go. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near Pi Harath, between Migdal and the sea. They are to encamp by the sea directly opposite of Bel Zephon. The Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion, hemmed in by the desert, and I will harden the Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. But I will gain glory for myself through the Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. So the Israelites did this. Now, exactly what did the Israelites do? Well, when the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, the Pharaoh and his officials changed their mind about them and said, what have we done? We have let the Israelites go and have lost their servants. So he had his chariots made ready and took his army. With him. He took 600 of his best chariots, along with all other chariots of Egypt, with officers over all of them. The Lord hardened the hearts of the Pharaoh king of Egypt, so that he pursued the Israelites, who were marching out boldly. The Egyptians, all the Pharaoh's horses, and all the chariots and horsemen and troops pursued the Israelites and overtook them at the camp by sea near Pi Harath, opposite Abel Zephon. Oh, this is bad for the Israelites. So what is he going to do? How is he going to stop this? So we are going to go into verse 10. As the Pharaoh approached, da, 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 the Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there was the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, was it because there was no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, Leave us alone. Let us serve the Egyptian. It would have been better for us to have served the Egyptian than die in the desert. Sure sounds people whining, doesn't it? Kind of like the world. We're whining right now about everything, this and that. Maybe we should leave in God's hands. Maybe that's where the truth is really at, is in God's hands. But are they listening? That is another story. So, verse, okay, we're at verse 10. Verse 13, Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance of the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on the dry land. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so they will go after them. And I will gain glory through the Pharaoh and all his armies, through the chariots of his horsemen. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots and horsemen. I wonder what's gonna. Here comes the Pharaoh and the horsemen. That is pretty. I'd be kind of concerned, you know. Really, really a lot. Well, verse 19. Then the angel of God who had been traveling in front of Israel's army withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of the cloud also moved from in front and stood behind them, coming between the army of Egypt and Israel. Throughout the night, the cloud brought darkness to one side and light to the other side. So neither went near the other all night long. Then Moses stretched out his hands over the sea. This is verse 21. This is the one my picture in the background is about. See how an individual, I refer to him as Moses, has lifted his his staff, and all those colors in the background you see up there, way up there, those high ones up at the top. That's that's the parting of the Red Sea, my friend. Imagine what that would have been like. Would have been awesome. That's for sure. So back to the scriptures, and it says here, then Moses stretched out his hands over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on the dry ground, with the walls of the water on the right and on the left. The Egyptians pursued them, and all the Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen followed them into the sea. During the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from a pillar of fire and a cloud. The Egyptian army threw it into confusion. He jammed the wheels of all the chariots so that they had difficulty driving. And the Egyptians said, let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them. And they're fighting for them against Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea so that the water may flow back. So it can flow back. Oh my goodness. Flow back. I wonder what's going to happen. All those Egyptians are in the water and they're stuck. They can't get out. What are they going to do? Go back over. It says here in verse 26, and the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea so that the water may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and their horsemen. Moses stretched out his hands over the sea, and at the daybreak the sea went back to its place. The Egyptians were fleeing towards it, and the Lord swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and the horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. But the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their right and on their left. That day the Lord saved Israel from the hand of the Egyptians, and the Israelites saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. And when the Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and Moses, his servant. Ah, so awesome. Imagine seeing that happen. It would have had to be just out as well. But you know what? Israelites made it out of Egypt. They crossed a little bit of desert and made it to the Red Sea. And now they're through the Red Sea and they're on their way down to another adventure. But what is that adventure? That adventure is found in our chapter 15 called The Song of Moses and Miriam. I hope to see you there. I hope you had a chance to mark my notification button. May God be with you. In Jesus' name, Mr. D.